What is up, guys? My name is Matt from Magic the Greatening, and today I got a really fun budget deck tech for you. It's going to be Black-White Aristocrats. That's right, we're playing Black-White Aristocrats, and for those of you that don't know what Aristocrats means, it's just like sacking your own creatures to make your other creatures more powerful and drain the enemy. Anyway, this deck is godly right now because of the new god Bontu the Glorified. So let's go ahead and just play 3 copies of him. You know, Bontu is just a 4/6 with Menace and Indestructible, and you're going to have him to attack 95% of the time he's out. And it's perfect. And his sack outlet is also good. You get to scry one and drain them. And if you have a Zulaport Cutthroat, which we're playing 4 of, by the way, it's double drain when you sack with Bontu. And you get to scry one. Like, what's not to love about that? I absolutely love this god. We're only playing 3 because this is a budget deck. And this, if I played 4, it would be like over half the budget for this deck. So we're going to play 3 copies of him. But definitely 4 of Zulaport Cutthroat, because he is our main win condition next to Bontu. Alright, so obviously these are the best 2 cards in the deck. Let's go to our other 2 sack outlets in this deck. We're going to play 3 copies of Syndicate Trafficker and 4 copies of Hidden Stockpile. Hidden Stockpile is also another all-star in this deck. It just will endlessly create a servos just to sack, so we can use Bontu to attack and drain them for 1. It's absolutely ridiculous when you have this Cutthroat and either Bontu or Trafficker out, because you're just going to be sacking servos, you know, draining them, or either swinging with Bontu, and then you just get a servo at the end of the turn. And if you don't have either Syndicate Trafficker or Bontu, you could sack things with Hidden Stockpile. It's like a double win. It creates us things, and to sack, it's absolutely perfect. And Syndicate Trafficker obviously can be a bit annoying for your opponent to take care of, because you can give him Indestructible and put a counter on him. And once he gets out of Grasp of Darkness range, watch out. I mean, that'll be a while. You gotta, you know, sack 4 things with him. But it's actually not that hard to do in this deck. Now that I've told you, like, the main win conditions and their sack outlets, let's go to the things that we use to create artifacts and creatures, or things we get to sacrifice. We're going to play 4 copies of Dread Wanderer, 4 copies of Weaponcraft Enthusiast, 4 copies of Servo Expedition, 2 copies of Ceram's Expertise, and 3 copies of Start to Finish. Dread Wanderer is just perfect because you can return him from the grave, and he's just a 1 mana, 2 power guy. That's just perfect for us. Weaponcraft Enthusiast, I don't see it in a lot of these decks, but he's a 3 mana that creates 3 creatures. Pretty good. It's basically a better version of Servo Expedition, which is our next card I'm going to be talking about. 2 mana, create 2 servos, which is pretty good for Syndicate Trafficker. Ceram's Expertise, I was originally playing 3 copies, but I bumped it down to 2. It costs 4, we want to be doing other things on turn 4 other than just wasting it on a Ceram's Expertise. I do still want to play it, because late in the game you could play that and then play something off of it, literally anything else in this deck. And then 3 copies of Start to Finish. The first half just creates us tokens. And the other one is just a Bone Splinters. This is perfect for our deck. This is exactly what we need. Time to go to the final 2 cards we're playing. We're going to be playing 3 copies of Bone Picker and 3 copies of Bone Splinters. Bone Picker, most of the time, is just going to be a 1 mana 3/2 to us, which is perfect. You have 1 leftover mana. You use Bontu, you sacrifice a servo, and then you attack with a 4/6 Indestructible Menace, and then you just bring out a 1 mana 3/2 flying just at the end of your turn. It's perfect. And Bone Splinters is just like the Start to Finish. It's just 1 mana. You sack one of your servos, and then you just kill one of their guys. We need some sort of removal in this deck. We're playing more in the sideboard, don't worry about that. But we do need to main board some. Let's jump to our land. We're a budget deck, so unfortunately our lands are going to be kind of bad, and even though they need to be really good for this deck. So 4 Evolving Wilds, 9 Plains, 10 Swamps. However, if you have the money, or you just have the cards lying around, you got them, go ahead and put in the good dual lands. Either, I don't think they have the cycling black-white, but you can put in the Kaladesh dual land for this, Concealed Courtyard. I'm pretty sure Oath of the Gatewatch has a black-white, or am I mistaken? I don't know. But yeah, go ahead and upgrade the lands as soon as you can, because that is super, super, super important of this deck. To the sideboard. We're going to finish our playset of Bone Splinters in the sideboard. We're going to play one more of that. We're going to play 2 Dispossess. This is actually really good right now. It's like Pick the Brain, but kind of better. Obviously, Pick the Brain can hit anything, and you need Delirium to activate it. This just chooses an artifact. This could be good if someone is playing, obviously, Mardu vehicles. This is like what it's mostly in there for. But if they're playing like some sort of weird artifact deck, maybe they're playing Metalwork Colossus deck, maybe you might see an improvised deck. I don't know. I don't know if you'd see that, but this is pretty good against that. We're gonna play 2 copies of Eliminate the Competition. This is against other token strategy decks. I would gladly just sacrifice all my little 1/1 servos to take out a board. You know, you just take out their entire board. Honestly, I might move this down to 1 in the sideboard. I'm still tweaking with the sideboard a little bit, but this is especially good with our deck because we're creating a lot of like tokens, and we have a lot of we have Dread Wanderer that can come back. You can just sacrifice Dread Wanderer and like 2 servos and just take out 3 of their dudes and swing in with a Bontu. That's perfect. And you sacrifice 3 of your guys. You take 3 of their guys out. You get 3 drains from Zulaport Cutthroat, and Bontu becomes activated, and you swing in with a 4/6 Indestructible Menace. You know, this card's pretty good. 3 copies of Fragmentize, again, against Mardu vehicles. So that's still going to be a thing, unfortunately. I'm tired of seeing it, but, you know, we got a sideboard stuff in that takes it out. 4 copies of Grasp of Darkness, and actually, I've been switching between the sideboard of 4 copies of Grasp and 4 copies of Anguished Unmaking. However, I've decided to go with Grasp because it costs cheaper. I want to be playing things as quickly as I can, get as much stuff out, and Anguished Unmaking costs 1 more. I mean, I can easily just, you know, hit a god with 2 damage and then use Grasp of Darkness on it to take it out. Or even if it's just Hazoret, you just take it out immediately with Grasp of Darkness. Or you just block, you know, they have the green god out, forgot his name already. Swings in with a 5/5 Indestructible Death Touch. You block it with the servo, you drop a Grasp of Darkness on it. There you go. So, gotta play that. I mean, obviously you can switch this out with Anguish Unmaking. So there you go. 3 copies of Vizier, of Remedies. Yes, this is good against green-black -1/-1 counters deck, you know, a Patra deck. This is actually really good against blue-black cycling. Blue-black cycling has some pretty good -1/-1 counter things, like Ruthless Sniper and Archfiend of Ifnir. Archfiend of Ifnir gets crippled by this card. Obviously, this only has 1 power, and it's easy to take out. But if they Archfiend of Ifnir, you have this out, they cycle a card, it prevents all those -1/-1 counters entering your dudes. They have to specifically focus on Vizier, take her out, and then let Archfiend. By the time that happens, you probably already have an answer for Archfiend of Ifnir. So it's perfect. And it's good against, obviously, green-black -1/-1 counters. You know, you have Hapatra. They can't put -1 counters on your dudes. They can't create snakes. Their board gets, you know, sized down. So that's why that's in here. Honestly, was messing around with this deck during Aether Revolt, and it just felt like something was missing. Now, one thing was missing was Bontu. Dread Wanderer also helps because he can return from the grave. We have a few stuff. I mean, you could play Relentless Dead in this deck if you actually wanted to. That wouldn't be too bad, but then you want to feel like you want to play more zombies. And I don't know. It ended up in Kaladesh where I was just playing like a zombies, like Aristocrats, and it just felt weird, and it didn't really win. But Bontu definitely helps this deck compete with other decks. Just a 4/6. I've been saying it so much. I just can't believe just a 4/6 menace. That's really good, especially in a standard where it's very aggro based. There's a lot of just 1-drops and 2-drops and 3-drops that have like 1, 2, 3 power. 4 power is really important. You can take out a Heart of Kiran. I mean, if they want to chump with a Heart of Kiran, I don't know if they'd want to, but Menace is pretty good on it, and the sack outlet on it is really good too. I mean, if you have this and a Zulaport Cutthroat, or this and 2 Zulaport Cutthroats, you're just going to drain them for 3 or 4 turns and win. You won't even have to attack with Bontu. You'll just drain them out and win. So, there you go. The life gain in this deck is actually really important too. There's a lot of aggro, you know, mono red burn might be a thing. So gaining life against mono red burn is probably their greatest weakness because they're just trying to hit you early before you can stabilize the board and turn the tides of the game. if you're able to drain some life back, you'll stop their tracks. They'll have no cards in hand. They'll be playing top deck, and then you can start rolling. So life gain is actually like super, super important in this deck. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. This is like one of my favorite decks right now. And it costs you like under $40 for both main and sideboard. If you want to add another copy of Bontu in there, I mean, it'll cost around like $45 instead. However, the budget version is probably just as good, if not the same. I wouldn't really worry about it. This deck is just super fun to play with. It's actually kind of competitive for how cheap it is. Definitely can win some, you know, Friday Night Magic games at your local game store. And I just love playing this against my friends because, you know, their removal does nothing to my deck because I'm already trying to remove my own creatures. The one thing it does have a problem with it is green-red gods right now. I am trying to find a way around that. Obviously, if you want to play a more competitive version, you're going to play Anguish Unmaking, like I said earlier. So anyway, there's definitely upgrades to be made to this deck, but I try to make it as budget as I can, and Bontu took up like half the budget. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you just leave a like if you like this deck tech, or if you like the video, and subscribe if you're new, because I'm going to be coming out with like deck techs like almost every day until I like run out of ideas, and I like coming up with ideas. I'm going to be making a lot of silly decks. It's not only going to be in Standard. I don't know too much about Commander, but maybe some Modern decks. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next video, hopefully. Peace.